So let's start with the rapid fire round, just to break the ice. The first question is, at what age do you want to retire?
48.
How long does it take you to get ready in the mornings?
30 minutes, but I try to do 15.
Most embarrassing moment of your life?
Oof. Most of middle school.
Favorite color?
Blue.
What time of day are you most inspired?
Whatever day I'm in the shower, or whatever time of day I'm in the shower.
How many hours of sleep can you survive on?
I need at least 7.
The city in which the best kiss of your life happened?
I'm going to say Duluth, Minnesota.
Pick one, Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk.
I'm going to pass.
How do you relax?
I relax by taking walks.
How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
Usually about 2.
A habit of yours that you hate?
I bite my nails.
The most valuable skill you've learned in life?
Just to be flexible.
Your favorite Netflix show?
They just added Detroiters. That's my favorite one.
Okay. Morning routine, are you an early riser or a night owl?
Night owl for sure.
One word description of your leadership style?
Relaxed.
Coffee or tea to kickstart your day?
Coffee.
Top priority in your daily schedule?
Time for a walk.
Ideal vacation spot for relaxation?
Wherever my wife is.
Key factor for maintaining a work-life balance?
Clocking out at 5.
Okay. Well, that was the end of the rapid fire round. Let's go on to the longer questions, which you can answer with as much ease and time as you like.
I'll do my
All right,
best.
so the first one is, as the principal of marketing operations at CallTrackingMetrics, how do you ensure the marketing technology stack remains efficient and scalable for your business needs?
Yeah, it's a great question. Obviously, tech stacks are a big deal and a big investment for any organization. So you want to make sure you're not paying too much. You want to make sure it's actually doing what you want it to do and that people actually use it. I think that's probably the main takeaway for any ops person is the team using it. So encouraging the team to actually use all the processes. For us, we're a HubSpot group on the marketing team, Salesforce on the sales side, and they both got to talk together. So we got to make sure that sales knows what's happening in Salesforce and marketing knows what's happening in HubSpot. So if they use it on a daily basis, then they can tell you, like, this isn't working, this could work better. And both teams can kind of come together and be like, we're not seeing what we thought we would see, what's going on? And just, regularly check to make swant to make sure the tools you're using are still, top of class, if that's what you're looking for, or budget friendly, if that's what you're looking for. I think with so much AI coming out, we want to make sure that, there's going to be new players in the next 5-10 years that are the new kings of industry that might not exist yet. So you just got to keep your ear to the ground, make sure you're at least testing and looking for other things out there.
And so do you have any story around a recent challenge you faced when integrating some new technology into your marketing operations?
That's a good question. Right now, we are really integrating a lot of our own technology into our process. So CallTrackingMetrics, we have a lot of AI capabilities, conversation intelligence, where we take a transcription, run it through AI, ask it a bunch of questions, and get things back. So we wanted to test really early on, let's have AI pull out the email from the transcription rather than have the BDR have to do that after a call and send it right to HubSpot after. So we had to test that out. We had to make sure it was accurate. Everything went smoothly. The fields transferred over. What happened when they didn't say their email, the robot freak out on us and give us some nonsense. So lots of fine tuning, lots of asking, the BDRs, the marketing team, is this working as expected? But yeah, it's working out really well. So we're getting a lot more leads directly into our funnel, into HubSpot, rather than having to wait for manual sales process, which is really nice.
So, speaking of what works in marketing, then you have a decade of experience in marketing operations. How has your personal approach to demand generation and customer acquisition evolved in this time?
Yeah, I mean, things change constantly, so you got to stay on your toes. But honestly, I think the evolution is staying strong in the fundamentals. I think we as marketers try to brand things differently, demand gen, brand awareness, what are we doing for the pipeline? But it's really just comes down to marketing and your personas and your ICP. My evolution, I think, is really just staying strong in that and making sure that I know my customers, I know what they want. So when we're doing demand gen, doing brand awareness, whatever the little piece of the marketing is, it's all coming back to that bigger picture.
And how do you ensure that call tracking metrics stays ahead of the curve in adopting the trends that are going to come along?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think one of the reasons why I'm not too worried about that is because we have a founder who loves to try the new things. So
Mhm.
Todd Fisher is our founder at CallTrackingMetrics. He's an engineer from the start. So he, as soon as anything is announced, or even before something's announced and he finds out, he's going to be in the code figuring out, okay, what could we do with this? So I'm not super worried about our product and CallTrackingMetrics keeping up because he keeps us up. And it's more about just like, all right, we know what the thing is. How do we make that work for our customer? Is there a new customer that we need to reach? I think that's a big piece too. It's just connecting the new cool things to an actual strategy on what we should be doing on our end.
And so I guess marketing operations also require balancing creative strategies like these with data-driven decisions. How do you strike that right balance between creativity and analytics then?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely love the data, so I lean into that whenever I can. But I kind of have, so I got my start more in like social media, which is mostly creative and copy and all of that fun stuff. So I know that there's value in testing new things that we don't know about yet. Data can't really at this point tell you what's going to happen. It can only tell you what did happen. So you still have that foundation. You can test your assumptions using that data. But at the end of the day, you just kind of have to like take a leap on creative campaigns and then let the data tell you, did that work? Did that not work? Did it meet expectations? So I think the balance is really just what do we have now? Where do we want to go? And do we have the data to say anything to that? Or should we just take the leap and go?
So do you have a story from your career around an example where analytics transformed a creative campaign into a success story?
Oh man. Um, I hope that I do. I'll try to pull one out right now. um, yeah, let's see. I think at call tracking metrics, something recently that we did is just started looking at how our customers are defining what their Google conversions are. Are they sending every single phone call back to Google Ads as a lead and optimizing off of that, or are they adding a bunch of scoring criteria? So we took every single sort of lead scoring criteria, every single custom dimension, looked at all of that, and we came up with like just this campaign of, all right, you guys, we need to be doing more for our customers to show them that like the default is not getting you what you want in Google Ads. So this is sort of a customer campaign where we've got the data now to show that most people aren't using a ton of different criteria to send back to Google Ads. But like that's really what the value of sending offline conversions to Google Ads is making sure that like you're giving them the best stuff to optimize to because they've got their AI and machine learning that's really just amping up anytime you send them a new signal. You got to make sure that signal is something good. And we don't have a success story yet because this kind of is just launching. But I'm very excited to kind of give those tools to our customers so that they can start seeing better performance from things like PMAX and stuff that the Google Ads reps are pushing on everybody.
So call tracking and analytics then is just becoming more and more crucial in marketing, I guess. How do you foresee the role of call analytics evolving as businesses become more reliant on omnichannel marketing strategies, for instance?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to say that call analytics is super important for everybody. But I think even with Google's reversal of like the cookies, they're not going away, the third-party cookies aren't going away, I think it's still important for marketers to kind of own first-party data and what conversations are on the phone, in chat and text messages. Like that's your data. It's the customers too. And we can talk about regulatory in a little bit probably, but that's like the data that your company can use to get to know your customers better, to give to your sales team, to give them like more intelligence into this is the type of person that we should be going after, run outbound text campaigns, all of that stuff. I think having that data that is unique to your own business, especially when you start layering AI on top of that, like your competitors aren't going to know what the phone call was you had between you and your lead. They don't have that at all. So it's a competitive advantage to be like, we have this, we're running it through AI analysis, we're running it through our processes, we're listening to recordings, reading transcriptions, all of that fun stuff. I think it's just a competitive advantage to anyone who starts really paying attention to the data that you have.
And so what are some of the key challenges you've noticed businesses face when they're implementing call tracking as part of their marketing efforts?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of strategy that can go into it beforehand that I think most people just want to jump into a tool and get started. But again, you really want to think about what do you want to track. I think the organizations that have the best success with something like call tracking, call analytics, have sort of a game plan going into it. They've got a measurement strategy for their entire marketing mix, and this is something that's going to fit into it. So I think some of the challenges are just leaping before sort of mapping out what you want, and we can obviously help on our end with those kinds of things during onboarding. But it really is part of a strategy. So there are things that you really need to like take care of first. You actually have to have like your campaigns running. You have to have some sort of like a UTM strategy so that you can start tracking things on the offline end to connect it to that online stuff that's already working well.
So it seems that your role in general involves collaborating with cross-functional teams to drive these marketing outcomes that you talk about. How do you ensure smooth communication and alignment between these different departments?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I'm still working on all the time. I think there's always better ways to align with other teams. But yeah, we definitely have to be collaborative with ops. Like I mentioned, we've got Salesforce and HubSpot that have to talk constantly. We've got other tools that, sales and Drift, talking to people on chat. We've got our customer success and tools like Churn Zero, making sure that those customers are being talked to and everything has to be working together. I think, one thing, obviously selfishly, CallTrackingMetrics is really good at aligning the marketing and sales side of things. So it kind of closes the loop between, a lead comes in, you can see it in CallTrackingMetrics, it came from Google Ads. Now sales has all that information about, where that lead came from. And then that sales team can market a qualified lead or not qualified lead, and that goes right back to us in either HubSpot or we can check out CTM. So one thing that, really helps aligning is just having that sort of single like place to look for things. We can both look in CTM and see that was a good lead, it was a bad lead. And then we can work from there. We don't have to argue. We don't have to be like, I thought it was a good one, you're wrong. We can kind of just look at it and be like, this is the criteria we're using. And then just having shared goals, always have shared goals. I think, as you read more and more about goals, someone has to own it. But if not everyone's bought in, then there's no point. So sales, marketing, CS, the whole revenue team sort of has to be bought in on all of that. So if you just have like that endpoint in mind, then you're going to have communication because you just have to rely on each other for that.
So speaking of goals, then what KPIs or metrics do you prioritize when measuring the success of your marketing campaigns, for instance?
It's all just revenue. No. Yeah, I mean, you track all the traditional stuff, CPC, CPL, CPAs. I think for the most part, what I love to focus on is that lifetime value. Sales, when we talk to them, it's more about pipeline and things going through the funnel. But really what we're trying to optimize to is how much lifetime value can we expect from the customers coming in right now. So that's one that we look at all the time. I think it is a good metric for the types of customers coming in. Are they coming in on the right plans? Are they staying? So like churn goes into that, obviously usage and subscription fees and all that goes into that. But I think like LTV at the end of the day kind of wraps a lot of important KPIs into that one bucket that you can be like, yeah, this is looking pretty good so far, because it's a long-term horizon for what we can expect from these new customers.
And do you sometimes find that process optimization and all this sometimes affects or stifles creativity within your teams? Does that ever happen?
Yeah, hopefully not too much. I do love to document. I do love process. But I think it actually helps kind of keep, when you put some guardrails on things, it helps you to be more creative to kind of work within them. So like when you start putting restrictions on what you can do, then you have to like really think about, all right, how can I execute within these restrictions in the best way? So if you're still trying to hit those KPIs that we were just talking about, how do we do that when we're trying to follow X, Y, and Z? Which means that we're going to have to spend some time, figuring out what are the processes inside of that, and then getting creative to not bypass those processes, but work within them.
So how big is your team? How many people are you processizing and creativizing? And
We have a pretty small marketing team. I think we're about 8 people now. Sales team is a little bit bigger than that, and then the revenue team is even bigger than that. So we got a couple dozen people that is all involved in this process, and then you bring in technical support and all of that fun stuff too. Everyone kind of gets impacted when you try to make a change. So it's a pretty big team. CallTrackingMetrics now is pretty close to 100. We're going to be getting there pretty soon. I think we're in the 80s or 90s at the moment. But yeah, it's a pretty big team, but also we kind of think small at the same time.
all right, so let's talk a bit about the elephant in the room, which is privacy. So with digital privacy becoming a bigger concern for consumers, how do you balance the need for data-driven marketing like yours with maintaining customer trust?
Yeah. So I'm a big proponent for transparency, and I think all the privacy regulations are good. I'm sure it can go too far at some point, but I think right now, making sure that the customer is in control, checking that little consent box, not just opting them in immediately. In our industry, we have a lot of regulation and privacy around just like spam calling, spam texting, that we really are trying to push for our customers to really think, how can you do this in a compliant way? Be creative within those kind of guardrails that we were talking about before. There's a lot of process, a lot of regulation. It doesn't mean you can't be creative and reach your goals. So we're trying in our platform to make sure that we have that transparency, register these numbers, make sure that the campaigns are registered with the appropriate bodies, things like that. And then just sort of on the digital marketing side, like I've always been a proponent for just web analytics has never been one-to-one or perfect. So let's just get away from that. You're going to use the data that you have in the context that you have it. So sort of let people have their privacy sandboxes, trust what you have, and then you can kind of amplify and enhance it with maybe some of that first party data in the conversations that you're having. Obviously make that clear too. You got to announce that you're recording a call, things like that. Are you going to use this for AI? All of that fun stuff. I think that's all really important. And if we just do it in a transparent way, I think it all makes sense.
And what new privacy regulations do you see coming in the future that everyone needs to get ready for?
I think probably mostly AI like transparency. I think there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with AI. You can, take an inbound call and have it be an AI voice bot, kind of just responding to you, qualifying you before passing it off to a human. I think, announcing yourself as, hey, I'm an AI assistant. Now you know that. Would you still like to talk to me, kind of thing. I think that kind of regulation is going to come down probably sooner rather than later.
So CallTrackingMetrics operates in a highly competitive landscape. How do you differentiate your brand in the market? And what role does marketing operations play in this?
Yeah. So CallTrackingMetrics, it is definitely a highly competitive space. There are leaders in the industry. We are among the leaders of the industry. I think it's really just knowing who our ideal customer profile is, our persona. We have CallRail is the one that most people in our industry are going to know. They're the first name that people recognize when you start talking about call tracking. They make it very easy to start. Everything is kind of like in just out of the box. This is what you get. The way we differentiate ourselves is, yes, you can start and be easy in default if you would like to, but we're the customizable solution. So if you don't want to send all of your phone calls to Google Ads, you want to send the ones that were over 3 minutes long and were starred 3 out of 5, and maybe mention the product that you sell or something like that, and send that back to Google Ads. And then if you want to have 5 other conversions, we let you do that too. So I think being customizable is the big one, being developer friendly. I mentioned Todd's an engineer at heart. He's been engineering this thing from the beginning. And we've got, tons of developer resources, open API, all of this fun stuff that people can build on top of our product and actually like turn it into their own white labeled like profit center if they really want to. We've got people that have taken our, SMS functionality and built their own kind of business around it. And we encourage that. I think it's really cool to build off of what somebody else has already built, and we give them the resources to do that.
And could you now give us a story for a campaign or a strategy that significantly contributed to CallTrackingMetrics brand positioning? Something that comes to mind.
Yeah, something for the brand positioning. One thing that we just did, we did a big campaign around just sort of what to do before call tracking. It was kind of this don't buy CallTrackingMetrics. We did like ads, we put it out on like a sponsored campaign. We're like, don't buy CallTrackingMetrics, obviously with the caveat of not yet kind of thing, where it was like checklists of here are the things that you should really be doing in your marketing strategy before you even get to thinking about call tracking. Where I think most people would be like, just buy our thing, we'll figure it out as we go. This is like, no, we want you to actually be successful. I think transparency with CallTrackingMetrics is big, like I've been mentioning. I think actually helping our customers get value from what they're doing with us, super big for us. So we want to make sure that they've got the fundamentals. We want to make sure that they've got their measurement strategies. We want to make sure that they actually have like an idea of what the marketing mix looks like, and then they can use us to validate and kind of scale that. So that was one campaign that I think really helped solidify, it's not just who called, where did it come from? It's who called, where did it come from, and how do we build on that? So it kind of pushed us into more of like, you're going to have some strategy behind this, and we're going to help you get there. But like call tracking is a strategic piece of the marketing mix, not just like a data point that you use in a dashboard for your agency client kind of thing.
All right, then. So looking forward, how do you see AI, machine learning, and automation reshaping the future of marketing operations in general?
Yeah, for marketing ops, I mean, the possibilities are kind of endless, which is a little scary, but I think we're probably going to move away from just your basic co-pilots and assistants and things like that. And we're going to start seeing like just new ways of implementing things that we've been using for a long time. Like a CRM, does it need to have all the bells and whistles anymore? If you can just use a spreadsheet and put in, hey, I'd like to know what happened with this customer, and it can just look it up for you kind of thing. So yeah, I'm wondering if things are going to get pared down a little bit. I think processes can be a lot more automated and like just with a sentence instead of figuring out what all the workflows are. And that really opens us up to like, all right, what's the strategy behind what we're doing? So it moves people out of maybe the platform more. I don't have to spend as much time building workflows in HubSpot and Salesforce. I can spend a little bit more time thinking, all right, why would we build that workflow? Who are we building it for? How can we get super segmented now? So I think hopefully, if we use this responsibly, we can get to a place where we're not, stealing jobs away from people, but we can put more back on their plate to start thinking through how can we make the biggest impact, for the team.
So the last question for you is then of a personal kind. What would you be doing in your life if not this?
That's a great question. So one of my hobbies is screenwriting. So if I had the chance, I would definitely write for TV. So that's what I would do for sure. I try to spend as much time as possible writing. If I could do that for work too, I would do that.
Well, then you're in the right career shift because of the writer's strike. So you should be happy you're not in that right now, I guess.
Yeah, this is a little bit more stable.